defund it because of the abortion factor, which they say is 3%. I don't know what percentage it is. They say it's 3%, but I would defund it because I'm pro-life.
That was then candidate Trump just over a year ago. And while the House GOP is now attempting to make good on that promise, President Trump offered Planned Parenthood a deal. Don't do abortions and keep your federal funding. The organization quickly refused that offering. In moments, we're going to be joined by a representative from Planned Parenthood. But first, to debate the fallout politically, Dana Loesch is host of Dana on the Blaze TV. And Crystal Ball is a senior fellow at the New Leaders Council and the author of the new book. And we're going to tell you all about that book coming up. I don't have the title, but I know it's going to be awesome. Crystal, thank you. There it is, Reversing the Apocalypse. All right. Thank you both for joining us.
Thank you, Shannon.
It's good to have you with us. All right. Crystal, do you think that the president thought they would potentially take this deal? It wasn't floated publicly. Do you think the private conversation, there was any legit chance they'd take it?
No, absolutely not. And, you know, as the president pointed out in those comments, abortion is not core to what they do in terms of the number of procedures. It is about 3% of the procedures that they perform.
I would tell you that the Washington Post, which is not the Washington Post, not a conservative rag by any stretch of the imagination, gave that claim 3 out of 4 Pinocchios on the lie test and said it was not true.
Well, a number of independent sources have verified it's 3%. About 90% of their patients come in for something other than abortion. So while it's not core to the services they provide, it is core to their values in that they believe that women should have access to the full range of medical care, including abortion. So this analogy is not perfect, but it would be a bit like going to a Jewish hospital and saying, we'll keep giving you federal funding as long as you stop doing circumcisions. It's not the entirety of what they do. It's not even a majority of what they do, but it is important to their values and their belief system.
All right, Dana, a lot of people have no moral objection to circumcision. They do have moral objections to abortion. The country's pretty evenly split on that. And even though federal funding is not allowed to, because of the Hyde Amendment, go to any abortion procedures, you know, there are those who have questions about the fungibility of the money, $500 million in government money that Planned Parenthood gets every year.
Exactly. Well, and to your point, Shannon, if it's only 3%, of the services offered, then what's the big deal about eliminating that in order to continue receiving those valuable taxpayer dollars? To me, it seems like an easy decision to make. But unfortunately, that's a little bit fuzzy math. I think the analogy that has been used before, or rather the example to highlight this, it's like saying you're going to a baseball game to watch baseball, but because you buy a hot dog, it looks like Major League Baseball is just in the business of selling hot dogs. That's kind of that's the bulk of what they do. It's weird in how they count it. And you're right, there are a number of entities out there which says that number is completely false. But more so, Cecile Richards herself said that 86% of Planned Parenthood's revenue comes from performing abortions. This is a for-profit business that should not be receiving as much federal money as they are receiving. And fungibility is a great point with this. This money that is given to Planned Parenthood, $500 million annually, allows them to continue this abortion mill business that they're running. Without that, they wouldn't be able to run the abortion mill business. And you have community health centers that provide the actual full suite of health care services for women. They provide better care, they provide prenatal care, and they outnumber Planned Parenthood 3 to 1 in every single state in the United States.
It's not even a decision.
Let me bring Crystal back into here. Yeah, I mean, are you okay then with the money? Because the plan now that the GOP is proposing is to redirect the money to federally approved and qualified health centers that provide all those things for women, screenings, cancer screenings, breast exams, all those kinds of things, but without abortions. What's your objection?
Well, the problem is that Planned Parenthood operates in roughly 400 counties in the United States. And out of those 400 counties, in 100 of them, there is no other clinic that offers in particular access to low-income women for contraceptive services. And one thing that we've seen over the past 8 years is we've actually seen a huge decline in the rate of abortions that's been tied to increased access to contraception. So in a way here, you're cutting off your nose to spite your face. This has been successful in reducing abortions. If women, and in particular low-income women, don't have access to birth control,
so it's community health centers.
We got to leave it there. I'm sorry, but we want to make sure that we bring in, we have a special guest with us. Don Legans is an executive vice president for Planned Parenthood. Don, I'm assuming that the deal, the offer that was made by President Trump was dead on arrival.
Well, I didn't really hear a deal exactly. I heard a disaster for women's health care, and I also heard a White House that is very, very concerned about taking away birth control, STD testing, and cancer screening from millions of women in this country who don't have anywhere else to get those services.
But if they can go to the other federally qualified health care centers, there are 700 roughly Planned Parenthood clinics in this country. There are more than 9,000 of those other federally qualified health care centers that do those screenings, contraceptives, all those kinds of things, but without abortions. Is it accurate to say women would have nowhere else to go?
It is. Actually, the head of the American Public Health Association called the claim that Planned Parenthood patients could go to federally qualified health centers all over the country was ludicrous. And federally qualified health centers have themselves said, hey, we're already overrun with patients. We have 4-week, 8, 12-week waits. And, you know, a woman who has a lump in her breast or needs birth control can't wait 8 weeks or 12 weeks to get an appointment.
Well, those clinic space for it. If you give up something that is only 3% of your business, why couldn't you still operate? Why without reducing more business?
We believe women deserve the full range of reproductive health care, including safe, legal abortion, and we are committed to providing the full range of services. But two things I want to say. First, federally qualified health centers and community health centers are our partners. They refer people to us. We refer people to them. This is a patchwork quilt of trying to take care of especially low-income people in this country. But secondly, let's just talk about how Planned Parenthood gets federal funds. The whole term defunding is very misleading. Planned Parenthood does not get a Publishers Clearinghouse check for $500 million. We're not a line item in the budget. We're not in what the proposal for the president says. We get reimbursed for services.
Okay.
Just like a hospital, actually. Just
to be clear, though, we got to leave it there because we're out of time, but that is federal and local and state taxpayer money, and a lot of folks have objections to the way that it is used, though we note federally, under the law, none of that is supposed to be going to abortions. We thank all of our guests for coming with us tonight on that debate. Still ahead,